At the end of the message, Rick, I have a handout for you. Betty, you like hands on. This is for you especially.
Oh,
And the handout will be on the screen, so if you're with us virtually, you can give a screenshot or take out your phone and take a picture with the camera, and you'll have all that same information. But first of all, I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited, there are no chains that bind me. Well, you get the idea. Jennifer, let's see if we can include that in music next week. Good old Unity hymn. So today, we talk about, well, I want to change the title a little bit. Stuck in a rut no more. So not just stuck in a rut no more. There's a character in the Hebrew scripture named Balaam. Anybody remember that name? Balaam. B-A-A-L-A-M. And Balaam had a unique connection with an animal in the story of Balaam. Anybody remember what that animal is? Pam, you got to know that. Unmute and tell us. Maybe not. Balaam's ass, a donkey. Balaam's ass. Well, here goes the story. Since you didn't remember that, maybe you didn't remember all the details of the story. Balaam was a prophet, not in Israel, which is what most of the Hebrew scriptures focus on, but in the neighboring country of Moab. And Israel and Moab weren't getting along at all together. Matter of fact, the Moabites had quite a grievance against Israel, and they wanted to see them cursed. So Balak, the king of Moab, went to the prophet, a true prophet, Balaam, and said, I'm going to hire you to go and curse Israel. Go and curse Israel. Now, Balaam took the money, but he was also a true prophet, and he heard the voice of God. The voice of God says, go and bless Israel. Oh, so he had conflicting interest here. Paid to curse, but directed to bless. Well, he decided he was going anyway. And along the road, he and his donkey were going well, but midway through the journey, all of a sudden the donkey halted and almost threw Balaam off the donkey. And Balaam was a little irritated with the donkey, and he took a stick and whacked that donkey 3 times. And the donkey opened its mouth and said, this is a story, remember? And we're looking for the truth in this story. Why did you hit me 3 times? Because the donkey had seen what Balaam had not. But what Balaam then saw after he had hit the donkey, was an angel of the Lord standing in front, saying, don't go. Don't go to Israel in this conflicted situation that you're in. I know you've purposed to do it. You're going to do it. You've got this groove going. You're headed for Israel to, I don't know, do what, bless or curse, and maybe a little bit of both. But don't go. And Balaam was a resistant kind of a guy. He decided he really wanted to go anyway. Well, we didn't want to have to pay the money back, for one thing. And he asked again and again. And finally, the angel of the Lord consented and allowed him to go. Now, the story gets kind of mixed at this point. We don't actually know. We know he did a little bit of cursing and maybe a little bit of blessing. And we don't know his exact end, but he was stuck in that rut all the way from the time the king said, I want to hire you, all the way through the listening to the voice of God, getting stopped by the angel of the Lord, being allowed to go. He just stayed in that rut. So that's what we're going to talk about today, how we can be stuck in the rut no more. Not being stuck in a rut means we're going to get freed up, freed to be who we really are, and to be to others who they truly are. We're going to be free when it doesn't seem possible that we're free. And we're going to free ourselves by traveling a path of surrender. Now that kind of outlines where we're going this whole month. But let's get down to stuck in a rut no more. I put together a key spiritual truth. We don't have to stay stuck in our rut. Freedom is available. There are three ways I think we get stuck that would be different. When we look at freedom, we look about a lot of other things. It may be patriotic, it may be just personal freedom to do whatever we want to do, but freedom is a little more than that. Freedom is not to be stuck in our thinking and in our memory. Do you ever get stuck in a thought loop? Thought keeps coming again and again. They tell us that many tens of thousands of thoughts enter our heads every day, or maybe they emanate from our heads every day. And most of them are thoughts that we do over and over and over and over again. So we get stuck in a memory or in a thought loop. And that thought loop sometimes just does not serve us very well. For one thing, it doesn't allow us to stay in the present moment. It doesn't allow us to look toward that which is really our heart's desire. It doesn't allow us to evolve, to move forward, to emerge into this world, as it said in Michael Beckwith's book. And thank you for reading that, Sue. That was great. There's a Buddhist story that kind of talks about this getting stuck in a memory loop. Story is that a senior monk and a junior monk were traveling to a distant monastery. They came to a river, and the river was a little bit deep. They could wade through it, but there on the bank of the river a beautiful young woman who needed to go to the other side. The senior monk didn't hesitate. He put the woman on his shoulders, waded through, and took her to the other side. So when the junior monk caught up, he said, well, why did you do that? You know, it's against our traditions and against our rules to touch a woman. And the senior monk didn't say anything. They continued the journey, another hour, another 2 hours, another 3 hours, and finally they arrived at the monastery. And before they entered, the junior monk said, I just don't understand how you could do that. The senior monk said, I put that woman down hours ago. You're still carrying her. That thought loop going over and over again, maybe what we should have done, maybe what we didn't do, maybe anything. That thought loop, and many times, most times, something that just doesn't serve us very well. There's what I call a memory wheel too. Memories. Oh, beautiful. I don't know, I was in the company of somebody the last day or two, been in the company of a lot of people, so I don't remember who it was, but we were talking about some beautiful memories that we had, and they were wonderful. However, it goes both sides of a line. There are many memories that are about what we didn't like, about the person who treated us badly, about so many other things that take us again off of being in the present, away from being in the present. And that memory, it's like we're a gerbil on a wheel. We're going, but we're going nowhere, but we're going fast. And so we take those memories and we let them dominate in our lives. Well, the good news is you don't have to be stuck in that rut anymore. The sages doubted change. Leslie, if you're listening or watching this thing, thank you for that book. Leslie gave me this book. Says this about memories, and I thought it was particularly poignant. Let your memories, good and bad, come and go without lingering. These are not you. They are merely images projected on the screen of your mind. Don't be trapped in this dark theater. Get outside and meet the life set before you in this moment. We don't have to stay stuck in our rut. Freedom is available. Then I want to turn to sticky, unserving habits. We are creatures of habit. I remember the story, and I always get a kick out of it when I think of it. Oh, that's a memory, isn't it? Well, I'll have to think about that. The story goes like this. A student, college student, we could call him or her Jim or Jane, had a 9 o'clock class. Not too early, but it was a 9 o'clock class. And Jim or Jane went to class on the first day of class and arrived at 9:10. The professor accommodated that for the time being. But on the next class, they also arrived at 9:10. And the next, 9:10, 9:10. Finally, the professor, a little bit irritated, said, Jim, Jane, for you, 9:10 is the starting time. You don't have to be late to class. Anybody want to guess what happened? Jim or Jane came at 9:20. There was that pattern, that non-serving pattern that just was active in their life. You know, being stuck in that way, in those patterns, is comfortable. Not always real likable, but it's comfortable. The brain likes to stop thinking. Despite the fact that we have 60,000 thoughts, the brain likes to take it easy a little bit. We'll put it that way. And would rather rely on routine, which is a repeated thought again, would rather rely on routine so it doesn't have to work so hard. It's difficult to move on from that comfortable pattern. And sometimes we, in our comfortable but unserving or non-serving patterns, just get resistant to having that healed, even though we know it might be better for us if we did. Somehow we resist it. So routine allows that short-term freedom. Now, a little bit about the brain. Again, I'm not the expert, but I read some experts now and then. And I like some of the things I hear. The brain, when it's patterning again and again, doing something again and again, is taking a little bit of break. But when it runs up to something that kind of inspires change, even when you may step a foot out and get started on change, the brain says no, no. In that limbic system, a fight, flight, and fear mechanism takes place. And so we back up into the comfort zone. We don't persevere in that change that will allow us to merge into what we're destined to be. brain also releases dopamine, which makes us feel good. So we're feeling good, and we're backing away from the challenge that we may have to look to something that is our true heart's desire, or to look to a pattern that really serves us, a habit that really serves us. Remember the truth. We don't have to stay stuck in our rut. Freedom is available. Then, sometimes we're ancestrally stuck. Ancestor. I like that word, ancestor. I'm full of stories today. Remember the story, I'm sure you've heard this one, about the Easter ham. Time to cook the Easter ham, and you get 2 pots and put them in the oven. Cut that ham in half, 1 in each pot, and they go in the oven. And you do that year after year after year. Somebody asks you, how come you use 2 pots? There's a big one right over there. You could fit it in that 1 pot. And the answer, of course, is that Grandma didn't have a big enough pot. And so the ham was cut and put in 2 pots. But there was a legacy that Grandma gave that came down through even perhaps a lack of understanding about things are happening, just doing it because that was something that was passed down from family member to family member. Don Miguel Ruiz. Everybody know that book, Four Agreements? Somebody, let me see hands. Well, a lot of people know that book. The beginning of his book, he has a little chapter on domestication. What domestication is? Well, of course, you know that with your pets. But you don't know that you, too, are domesticated. All of those parents, teachers, mentors, influences domesticate you. Here's what he says, real briefly. The adults around us hook our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. We're children, of course, and we accept that. But like we spoke of before, the change that would happen in us, we turn away from, even though it would be for our benefit. I also like a passage from the Hebrew Scriptures again in Deuteronomy, but it has to be understood metaphysically. So I'm going to read it as it is and then kind of reinterpret it. I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me. It's pretty severe. But let's see the truth beneath that. There's a generational movement of things that we just accept. We just take it on, not realizing that we could have freedom from that. It goes on to say, but also showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Well, I won't exactly sit with that. Love me. Those that truly connect with the Christ within them. For those, there's freedom from that. Freedom is available. In the Christian scriptures, there's a man who's about to be healed, and the bystanders ask Jesus, was it this man's sin or was it his parents? Is that why he's ill? Is that why he's injured? And Jesus said, neither this man nor his parents sinned. And here's the exciting part. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. Even though we have all of this heritage from our ancestry, we have the opportunity to express the divine. We are expressions of the divine. And as we do, we change things greatly. Not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of all. Here's that key spiritual truth again. We don't have to stay stuck in our rut. Freedom is available. And now we get to the part that I hope is helpful to you. How do I do that? Rick, can you pass out those handouts? And Tom, if you could put up that slide. If you're on the line and with us virtually, if you can take a screenshot of this slide or take your camera and snap a quick picture, then you'll have the same thing as we're handing out here in person. How do I do that? Stuck in a rut no more. I'll wait till Rick finishes. Even if you give 2 to one person, maybe that person needs 2 of them, Rick.
Especially these 2.
Okay, let's go on. So I'm suggesting 3 things. And I wanted to give you the handout because it'd be hard to remember all these things in your mind. And you might make a modification of these and it might work a little differently for you, but there's still a truth behind this, I believe. How do I do that? Slow down to get unstuck. You know how when you're stuck in the mud, Rob, you've never had that experience with vehicle being stuck in the mud down on the farm, have you? The faster you go, the more you hit that accelerator and try to get out of that mud, the less progress you make. And when you slow down, and there can be a little bit of traction, that vehicle can climb out of that rut. Same is true with us. Slow down to get up. Slow your thinking down. Did you ever get involved in a monkey mind time? You're in your monkey mind going and going and going. And you say, I'm going to stop this. What happens? Monkey mind keeps going. Because you're thinking all or nothing. I'm going to do this completely. Or I'm not going to do it at all. Slow down. How about if you sat there and you said, well, I just want to slow my mind down a little bit. And I'll slow it down. And I'll slow it down. Maybe I'll get to a place where I'll be quiet and I'll be still. And maybe it'll come back and I'll do it again. But slow down. Slow down not only your thinking, but your action. Oh, this is me. Something comes up and I'm off to do it right away. Don't really think about whether it's the right time to do it or if this is a thing that I should do. I'm off doing it. Slow down your action. Spend a little time in contemplation. Know, is this mine to do? Is this the time to do it? Instead of reacting, and that's the quick response, reacting to something. Whoa. Respond. Viktor Frankl, Austrian psychiatrist who endured the concentration camps, was really a wise fellow. He talked about reaction being an emotional response, triggered by something outside or triggered by some memory, but not the present moment, triggered. And this is what he says. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. How about that? 2 themes right in a row, growth and freedom. Slow down to get unstuck. Next, choose to change. How about making a choice for change? How about having an intention? Sometimes we just kind of let things happen. Well, allowing is sometimes very, very helpful. But sometimes it's up to us as creations of the divine, as a divine expression of the world, to make choices. That's how the world is changed, and that's how we are changed. So choose and intend to be unstuck. You may want to write an affirmation or an intention. You may journal about it. Choose to change. You might want to find a reason to change. That'll be helpful. That'll give you a little more support. Okay, here's an example from me. I'm fond of napping. And if I go out and do something, like I'm down on Rum's farm for 6 hours, I come home, I want to nap. But the tendency I have is to go to the recliner, sit back and my head flops over, and I get some measure of rest. But I know that if I can choose to go up and lie down on my bed and put the alarm clock on, I may be more productive later in the day. So I choose and make a small step to change. Now that's a somewhat trivial example, but this is true for all of us. If we choose to change, if we intend our change, you intend to be in alignment with our emergence into the world as expressions of the divine, then it's possible. Remember the brain that got all upset when you're trying to change something? Call it dissonance. Well, make dissonance your friend. Yeah, you're going to have to stick with it for a while, but you can. Make dissonance your friend. Don't immediately go running away the other way or fighting with it. Make it your friend. And third, use your powers. In Unity, we have the 12 powers of man. These are gifts that are part of our inheritance. They're inherently a part of us as divine creations. And two of those gifts that are really helpful here is one, strength. Strength is staying the course. So when you're tempted to back away, you don't want to change, even though you know it would be a good thing. You'd get where you're going, much more quickly. Use that power of strength. Outlast the urge to back away, to flee, or to fight it. The other power is the power of will. Will is the power to choose and to decide. Avoid those all or nothing strategies that we talked about. Choose to avoid them and take micro steps. Some people have epiphanies and things change all of a sudden. And you may have had them too, but they don't happen on a daily basis, probably. So choose the micro steps. Choose the micro steps and stay the course. Decide and use the power of strength. Remember that the sages Tao Te Ching. The last two lines I really like, so I'm going to say them again. Go outside and meet life set before you in this moment. Remember Balaam and Balaam's ass? Balaam had multiple chances to turn around to make a different choice. But he didn't. He could have gone and given the money back. He could have been looking for the angel. I mean, he'd been talking with God anyway. Or he could have been single-minded. He could have said, this is the course for me. This is what is mine to do. And either curse or bless. I'm not suggesting the cursing. I'm suggesting the blessing, of course. But it's the single-mindedness that would have allowed him to free himself from the stuck situation, the rut that he was in. Again, that key spiritual truth. You don't have to stay stuck in your rut. Freedom is available, and so it is.